Today we're going to be looking at the study guide for our unit on angles. Number 1 says, in the image below, line X is parallel to YZ. Find the measurement of angle A, B, and C, and explain how you found the measurements. So there's a few different ways you can do this question. I'm going to start off by recognizing that 42 is an alternate interior angle to A. So I can conclude that angle A is also 42 degrees. Next, I can also conclude that angle 73 here is also 73. As I mentioned, there's a few different ways you can do this question. So I could find out B in two different ways. Well, I'll find it out this way. So I recognize that this is a straight line, and I remember that straight lines add up to 180. So I can do 180 minus 42 minus 73. And minus 73. Then I end up with 65. So my missing angle measure for angle B is 65. So I can say that C is 73 and B is 65. Now in this explanation here, I want to give a sentence for each as to why I chose what I did. So I said first that this angle here, that doesn't have a name. So measure of angle 42 is an alternative interior angle to angle A. The same is true for angle 73 here. So angle 73 is also an alternate interior angle to C. Now there's two different ways I can discover what angle B is. One way is adding up all the sides of a triangle, subtracting it from 180. Or I can recognize that it's a straight line, and then I can do this plus this minus 180 to get that. So either way works. So I can say that the sum of, I'll just do interior angles of the triangle is equal to 180. Therefore, I subtract 180 minus 42 minus 73, and that equals 65. In the diagram below, identify the measures of M, N, and P. So angle M is a supplementary angle. It's a straight line, so I can say angle M is 30. And angle N is a supplementary line, and that'll add up to 180, so I get 55 because 180 minus 125 is 55. Now to figure out what the measure of angle P is, I have to take 180 minus 85. And that's going to be 95. 95 degrees. So the measure of angle P then is 95 degrees. Might not be a bad idea to consider how to find T, S, and R. So if you're listening, I would try to research how to find T, S, and R. Okay. Determine the measure of each angle, then name the angle. Hint, there are multiple answers. This is 135 here, therefore this is also 135. And I could say that, let's see here, angle 3 is vertical. angle 3 and angle 7 are corresponding. Which means they're congruent. Angle 7 is 135, therefore angle 4 is vertical to angle 7. And now I'm going to have to start doing a little bit of math here. So I recognize that angles 3 and angle 5 are same side interior angles. And angle 5. And angle 5 is going to add up to 45 degrees. And I know that works because if you look at angles 5 and 7, you see that also adds up to 180 degrees. So that means if angle 5 is 45, angle 5 and angle 2 are alternating interior angles. And that means that angle 2 is 45. That means also angle 6 is 45. So angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding. And remember that they're congruent. I missed angle 4. So if angle 6 will also be angle 6 will be angle 6 and angle 4 are supplementary. Means that'll be 135. And angles 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. So there's lots of different ways you can come up with answers for these. I didn't mention anything about alternate exterior angles, but 1 and 6 are alternate exterior angles. We have alternate interior angles. We have same side interior. We have corresponding. A whole bunch of the same things, but different. Okay. Number 3 says solve the following. Where's number 3? Number 4 says solve the following. We have solve for x using the angle relationships. So I know that this is the same side interior angle, so I'm going to do 2x minus 15. So these are same side interior angles, so I'm going to do plus 105. And then remember, same side interior angles equal 180. I'm going to solve this like an equation. So I'll start off by subtracting 105 from both sides to get 75. Next, I'll add 15 to both sides to get 90 is equal to 2x. Next, I'll divide both sides by 2 to get x equals 45. So then x is equal to 45. Now you can check your answer by taking 45 and plugging it in for x. 9 times 2 is 45 minus 15, 75. 75 plus 105 is equal to 180. So we know it checks out. So again, the right answer is 45. Yeah. Next question. All right, so now I see that these two angles here are vertical, so I can set them equal to each other. I'll start by subtracting 2 on both sides. You get 60 is equal to 3x. Then I'll divide both sides by 3. Get x is equal to 20. You can check your answer by plugging in 20 for x. So 2 plus 3, 60 plus 2, 62. So we know it checks out. Find the sum of the interior angles. I should say sum. Find the sum of the interior angles of the following polygon. So I counted 6 sides. And I could do the triangle thing, but I'm just going to subtract from 2. I'll do that after. Times 180. So I get 720. So the sum of the interior angles of this polygon here is 720. So you can actually check your answer if you want by drawing some, kind of looks like a seashell here, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do 180 plus 180 plus 180 plus 180. Because you remember how many triangles you have is always 2 less than the number of sides. So you could do 180 times 4 and still get 720. So let's do a 16 gon. And again, we're talking about the sum of the interior angles here. So 16 minus 2 is equal to 14. 180 times 14 is 2520. So regular 16 gon is 2520. Use the following terms to determine the names of these triangles. Sometimes they can have 2 names. Then find the missing angle measure. You will have to look up their definitions. We'll start by simply just defining these triangles here. So an equilateral means all angles are the same. 2 the same, 2 the same, and 1 different. And the scalene are all different. Right triangle, a special triangle, is one angle is 90. Couldn't have more than one angle that was 90. It wouldn't add up to 180. Acute is when there is an angle less than 90. And obtuse is greater than 90. So an angle that is greater than 90 degrees. Now let me emphasize the fact that these triangles are not to scale. You measure these, they're not going to be to scale. Okay? So we have a triangle here, and it has 2 that are the same and 1 that are different. So we want to name them and then find the missing angle measure. So I know that a triangle adds up to 180, so I'll do 50 plus 50, and that's 100, and 100 minus 180 is 80. So my missing angle measure is 80. Now what type of special triangle is this? Well, all the angles are less than, so we're going to say that it's an acute isosceles triangle. So this triangle here looks like all 3 are going to be different. A scalene acute triangle. And that missing angle is going to be 80 degrees because I did 180 minus 45 minus 55 to get 80. Okay. Alright, so now I have, missing an angle here, I have 180 minus 60, which is 120. Minus 60 again is 60, so it's 60. So I'm going to have an equilateral triangle here because all are the same. Oops. An equilateral triangle here. And it's also going to be acute. We're going to look at question number 11. Question number 11, we have here a right triangle. And see how it's 45 degrees here in this top left corner. Remember, the interior angles of a triangle have to add up to 180 degrees. So to figure out what angle x is, I can do 180 minus 45. Which is 135. Now I have to figure out, by minusing 90 here, will tell me what x is. I can do 5 minus 0, which is 5. 3 can't go into 9, so I do 13 and 9, which is 4. Take away the 1 and make 0, so angle x is 45. This is a special triangle here. This is a right isosceles triangle. It's a right isosceles triangle because two angles are the same and one is different. Put a star next to that question. You'll be seeing that again shortly. Alternate exterior. Alternate exterior is going to be on the outside and opposite sides of the transversal. Outside and opposite sides. Alternate interior is inside. Inside and opposite sides. Supplementary, two angles that add up to 180 degrees. Complementary are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Corresponding, same position, different line. Just going to put a star next to all of these. And the star ones are congruent, meaning that they're the same. Same side interior, inside, and on the same side. And these equal 180 degrees.